Good morning, everyone. It's great to see many of you here today for our forum on healthy versus toxic relationship. My name is Irdina Wahida binti Muhammad Razid, but you can call me Irdina, and I'll be your moderator as of our forum today. Welcome to today's discussion on a topic that affects each of us at some point in our lives, which is relationships. First, let's get to know our special speakers for today's discussion. On my right, we have Badaria Sofia binti Muhammad Sohimi, who will talk about relationship from family perspectives. And next to her, we have Tuan Muhammad Danish bin Tuan Anwar, that will enlighten us about the relationship from the school perspective. Both are an expertise in their field and a very talented speaker, so I'm convinced that our discussion today will be a blessing in disguise. Both of them will sure talk about relationships from different perspectives, but not just any relationships. We are talking about the difference between healthy and toxic relationships, and how they impact us and how to identify it, especially within our families and schools. Before we begin our forum, I would like to involve all of you in a quick activity. Each of you will receive a piece of paper where I'll ask you to write down the examples of both healthy and toxic relationships in family and school settings. Afterward, we will collect the papers and discuss some of your answers together. We'll start this discussion by having Badaria, our first speaker of the day, get the ball rolling on the discussion. But first, I would like to begin by asking each speaker to share their perspectives on how relationships work in family and school.
Thank you, our host Irdina, for allowing me to give a short brief about family relationship. To begin with, relationship can simply be defined as the two way or more people are connected, or the way they behave towards each other. Meanwhile, healthy relationships involve honesty, trust, respect, and open communication between partners, and to take effort and compromise from both people. There is no imbalance of power, and the partners respect each other's independence, make their own decision without fear of retribution or retaliation, and share their decision. As for a healthy relationship, in family, it concludes mutual respect, trust, open communication, and emotional support among family members. As we all know, family is the first society that we all live in before going into the real harsh society outside. Therefore, family plays a huge part in forming one's personality, stable mental state, and ensure one's bright and successful future, as the idiom says, that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Parental guidance since the young age are important to carve the child into becoming a useful human in society, as our society nowadays lacks humanity and common sense.
That's insightful, Badaria. It seems like families plays a huge role in shaping a responsible and compassionate member of society. Following this, we will look at how good interactions between students and their teachers, how they can contribute to a powerful educational environment. For example, when classmates team up on a project, they not only form friendships, but also gain essential skill for collaboration. What are some examples of how you have witnessed this at your school?
Thank you to our amazing host, Irdina. First, I would like to give my thanks for giving me the opportunity to give a short speech of relationship from the perspective of school. I'll start with a few simple questions. What is a healthy relationship? How do we achieve this? How does it impact people in school? Let's begin. In school, we must maintain a good relationship with teachers, friends, and even the school staff. It is very important to make sure they feel safe, respected, and supported. This will create an equilibrium of trust and respect, which will act as the foundation or basis of a healthy relationship. But not all relationship is the same. Some nurture our growth while others can be harmful. That's why it is important to understand the differences between healthy and toxic relationship. Let's start by defining what we meant by healthy relationship. In a healthy relationship, whether it is a friendship between students or a student-teacher relationship, this relationship support the emotional change and mental growth of a person. For example, a situation where a student will engage in a group discussion to do their group work, we can see that each one of them need to tolerate and respect each other's opinion when they're discussing their work to reach an agreement that will greatly contribute to their work progress and increase their trust with each other. Another example is when a student is consulting his or her teachers. The interaction between these two not only benefit the student to understand more about the subject, but also enable the teachers to learn more about the student learning pattern. Because as we all know, teachers are the student's second parent while in school. This can improve the relationship value of both sides significantly.
Thank you for those perspectives. Now, let's talk about toxic relationships in families. Toxic dynamics include numerous of negative aspects such as gaslighting, name-calling, and threat of violence. For example, violating personal space, reading private messages, or making unpleasant comments about personal choices can make people feel insecure. Healthy limits are necessary for mutual respect and trust in relationships. Can anyone offer their experiences or views about toxic family relationships?
Next, I'll move to toxic relationship in family perspective. Toxic relationship is actually emotionally and physically harmful to one person. The term was first used by Lillian Glass in her 1995 book, Toxic People, and used to indicate a relationship that is built on conflict, competition, and the need for one person to control the other. Toxic relationship in family includes lack of boundaries, constant criticism, emotional manipulation, favoritism, or comparison, and many more. Growing up in toxic environment can affect one's life in many ways. For instance, unstable mental condition and unable to blend in with the society, which can be one of the reasons why toxic relationship will just add insult to an injury. Constant criticism and judgment between family members will be resulting in low self-esteem and confidence. This action can make the targeted individuals feel unworthy or inadequate. Most family members didn't even realize that this kind of action can result in someone depressing episode. At the same time, some individuals take this criticism and judgment as an advice, but they didn't realize that it gives harm to their mental health, and they will constantly take the blame on them. These consequences of this action will lead to sorrowful family environment.
I love the direction this conversation is taking. Healthy school relationships are built on mutual respect, support, and teamwork. For example, when teachers actively encourage the student to express themselves, it creates a positive learning environment. However, negative relationships will hinder this development. Let's look more closely at the causes of toxic relationships in school environments.
Alright, now I'll move to our next agenda, which is about toxic relationship from school perspective. In school, there may be a lot of supportive relationships, but there's also some poor interaction that can lead to some serious behavior problem. Toxic relationships has a lot of negative patterns and does not bring benefit whatsoever and even cause the disruptions in school environment, whether it affect all the students or teachers. The question is, how can we identify these problems? What can we do about it? How bad does the effect from school perspective? For the first one, we need to know how to identify the roots of what and how does one relationship become toxic. A toxic relationship can be detected by paying attention to the person you're interacting with. If it is constantly negative, that's one of the signs. There's also another way of how to identify toxic relationship, which is by observing the way each side communicate, whether or it is one side or not. This means there's an imbalance between them because the relationship is lacking effort from one or both sides. After that, it is crucial to know this method so that we can prevent or avoid being in a unhealthy relationship and toxic relationship. As what Desiderius Erasmus in around 1500 said, prevention is better than cure. Not just that, did you know that a relationship mostly become toxic when one side tried to take advantages of the others rather than working together to reach each other's goals? This is what we call as manipulation in a relationship. We can see this at school these days in the case of teachers using their students as social media content to gain clout through making a video without any benefit to neither the students or the internet. Believe it or not, this is actually illegal because it is against the professional teachers' guide and standards. Yet there are so many teachers out there always try to take advantage of their pupils. This mostly involves students that are still in primary school as they are innocent and clueless. Be sure to watch out for this student so this issue can be prevented. A change of era not only bring good things, but also consequences. But it is up to us whether or not we're able to make use of that change for good or the opposite. This also applies to the bond of a relationship. You can decide of what the relationship means to you and what's your goal with them.
Alright, Tuan, what specific behaviors or actions do you think indicate a healthy relationship? For example, what does respect or open communication looks like within school settings? And how do these behaviors manifest between students and teachers or among peers in schools? Tuan, let's begin with you.
Well, there's a lot of obvious signs of healthy relationship that you can see in school environment actually. From my personal experience, I often see that student-teachers relationships stand out the most and emit the most positive energy. We can see elements like open communications be practiced so openly and effectively while the teachers are teaching in class. A whole lot of knowledge and opinion exchange between the students and teachers. While doing this, the students watch their tones and words as a sign of respect to their mentor, which are their teachers. The teachers then accept the student question or opinion and proceed with explaining it to them. What does this prove? It greatly signifies that there is a sign of a mutual respect between two sides and provide psychological and emotional support to both of them. How about friendship between students? If we were to notice or see the sign of healthy relationship from this, I would say it's the ability of a person to be there with them when one is in need of support no matter how bad it is. This is what I call devotion, one of the highest hierarchies in the stage of relationship. If you see this in your friend, be good to them, appreciate them, adore them, because that's the purest form of loyalty that a person can offer in this world. Learn to appreciate people.
Valeria, do you agree with these signs? Would you like to provide any further characteristics of healthy relationships?
I do agree with one point just now. There are clear indications of healthy relationship within the family. A good family relationship, for example, would be able to share duties and flexibility, such as allocating tasks and chores among family members, fairly and demonstrating collaboration with one another. Family members are tolerant of one another's needs and do not harbor strict expectation or jealousy of others. A family with strong relationship will instill a sense of responsibility and teamwork among its members. Having a good conflict resolution process is another indication of a strong family bond. In these environments, conflicts are resolved amicably without hostility or protected hostility, and participants view the conflict as a chance for learning and development where compromises can be reached that will benefit all parties. They also welcome mistakes and personal development, encouraging and accepting forgiveness and apologies in equal measures. By doing this, the family members are supporting one another's personal development and strengthening their bond. Before we move to the next part, allow me to share another signs of healthy family relationship. In a family with healthy connection, we'll have a positive role model going in the family, starting by the parents, who will setting a good example in terms of behavior, emotional regulation, and decision making since the child was still a spring chicken. Meanwhile, the older siblings in the family provide guidance to the younger siblings, creating a culture of mentoring and learning. Healthy relationship within the family inspires healthy external relationship, such as friendship or romantic partnership. These three together form the foundation of a healthy, nurturing family relationship where family members thrive individually and collectively.
Thank you, Valeria, for your interesting sharing. Before the forum started, we have collected all your answers on examples of healthy and toxic relationship in family and school setting. Alright, thank you for writing down your thoughts. Now, let's look at some of the responses you have shared. For the first one of you wrote about how your family always makes time to talk after dinner. Everyone will share their day and the parents listen without interrupting. This is a great example of open communication and emotional support. Next, we have another response that describes how students in your class help each other when someone struggles and the teacher encourages collaboration. That's an excellent example of a positive school environment where everyone feels included. Now, for toxic examples in family setting, one person wrote about a family where parents criticize their children for not living up to their expectations. This can create low self-esteem and is definitely an example of toxic relationship. Next, we have a toxic relationship in school setting. Another example describes students bullying others and a teacher who does nothing to stop it. Bullying combined with a lack of intervention is a serious issue that can lead to a toxic and harmful school environment. Thank you for your insightful responses. Now that we have seen some real-life examples of both healthy and toxic relationships, We'll dive deeper into today's forum discussion on how we can build stronger, healthier relationships in our families and schools.
Based on my research and observation, the most important components to build a strong family relationship is communication between family members. Communication is commonly defined as the transmission of information. A family with a strong relationship can communicate well about both good and bad things. This creates a safe place for children to share difficult feelings like embarrassment, confusion, or shame, and strengthen the family members' relationship with each other. Some of you might be wondering on how to achieve the good communication between the parents and the children. Rest assured, I will share some tips regarding on how to encourage good communication in your family. In the first place, as a parent, you should spend more time with the child since they are in a young age to create an emotional bonding with the children, to make sure that they can be comfortable around you and didn't even think twice to share anything, as you are their safe place. This is very important, but some parents turn a blind eye on this matter, and they're wondering why their child won't speak up to them or even share anything about their day at school, and they choose their friends more than the parent. Next up, control your behavior in front of them. This includes your speech, emotion, and the way you react to certain situations, as the children usually learn this by observing their surroundings. The child most likely will develop the important skill by just observing the parent at home. For instance, the way they solve simple daily chores and manage life conflict, such as health issue and each other's responsibility. By doing so, they indirectly train themselves to be independent and not to relying on others. As for parents with adolescents and trying to fix the behavior, try to create more family time and encourage family members to talk to each other, starting by the parent. By doing so, the adolescents get a chance to express their pent-up thought and feelings and able to open up to the parents and family, making space for change in behavior and relationship with parent and other family members.
To build healthier relationships, we need practical solutions. This could include setting clear boundaries, improving communication skills, seeking support from mentors or counselors, or simply being more mindful of how we treat others. Addressing toxic behavior early and openly can make a significant difference.
That's true, Edina. Moving on, I'd like to suggest some method on how to counter this problem when facing toxic relationship while in school environment. As I mentioned earlier, we need to be able to recognize the signs which are mostly negative interaction between two sides. Then we need to be able to stand our ground and make it clear by setting the boundaries of the relationship. Establish clear limits with toxic individuals about the do's and the don'ts. Don't be afraid to say no or distance yourself when necessary, because not all people are good and some even bring misfortune to us. On the other hand, it's fine to cut ties with them when it is necessary. Sometimes the healthiest choice is to walk away from a toxic relationship. It is okay to end the friendship if they are damaging your mental health. When you're in school, there's the school counselor or student affairs to help you. To help yourself, you need to be able to make the first move by seeking help of others. Help others to help you. This concept may be ignored a lot because not everyone has the courage to reach for a help, and some are arrogant to do so. So, people around need to stay conscious and aware of people around them because we live in a united society. School organization like the student affair, student leadership body, and the school counseling center need to watch over the student equally and effectively so that a tolerant and virtuous learning environment can be realized to ensure students are healthy both mentally and physically when learning because they sometimes look reliable but still they need some guidance from adults.
Now, let's examine the similarities between healthy and toxic relationships across these situations. What common threats can we identify when we compare family and school interaction? Badaria, can you highlight any parallels you see?
Positive relationships inside the family and at school are very similar. In contrast, for example, trust is necessary for both successful relationship at home and at school because it is essential for both. Trust in family relationship include the trust between the parents and the children or between the siblings. Meanwhile, trust in relationship from school perspective cover the trust in friendship, student-teacher relationship, and many more. Trust in both school and family relationship are important as it creates an emotional security and provide the safe environment so that the individuals feel comfortable to be around without the fear of judgment, betrayal, or can also be defined as fear of abandonment. Another similarity that we can find in each relationship is the importance of effective communication. Effective communication in both environments is very important as it can build positive relationship between family members, teachers, and peers at school. It's also able to strengthen bonds by helping people around them to understand each other's feelings, needs, and concern, and allowed to strengthen the emotional connection. Apart from that, effective communication also helpful to resolve conflict such as miscommunication. In school environment, effective communication help address misunderstanding and conflict among students, and that promotes a harmonious classroom atmosphere. Meanwhile, in family relationship, families that can communicate with each other effectively was able to address disagreements constructively and leads to peaceful resolution and harmonious home environment.
Thank you for your insight, Badaria. Since every one of us has experienced relationship in a different way, it's normal to have different views about them. While some people may view certain behavior as harmful, others may view them as acceptable. As we investigate what makes a relationship healthy or toxic, let's have an open discussion about these viewpoints and respect each other's opinion.
Toxic relationship has caused a lot of negative effect on both family and school. A toxic family promotes the lack of support. The reason for my statement just now is because family members tend to criticize each other rather than encourage each other, leading to feeling inadequacy. Subsequently, this often resulting in conflict and fight, creating a horrendous failure in family bonding. In comparison, school promote discouragement and negative criticism, like teachers or students focus more on fault rather than strength, harassing self-esteem level. Exclusivity like bullying, cliques, and discrimination creates an unwelcoming atmosphere for the school to function properly. Thus, an unsafe environment has soon materialized. There's a lot of other comparisons that can be explored. but I highly implied that we focus on how to prevent and counter these issues rather than increasing the possibility of it happening. In addition, one might argue that toxic relationships in school are easier to escape due to fewer emotional ties, whereas family relationships are harder to sever due to deep-rooted connections. However, both school and family relationships require proper boundaries and understanding to thrive. While school relationships can often be more temporary, the long-lasting effects of toxic family dynamics cannot be underestimated. It is essential to address toxicity in both settings to foster personal growth and well-being.
Thank you, Tuan, for the insightful presentation. Now we will open the floor for questions. We got about 10 minutes for Q&A, so if you have any question, feel free to raise your hand or chat them via the chat box if you are joining us online. Just a quick reminder before we start. Please keep your questions concise and relevant to the topic. I'll do my best to get through as many questions as possible within the time we have. If your question doesn't get addressed, feel free to reach out to Tuan and Badaria after the session. Let's begin with the first question. Farid, please introduce yourself and go ahead.
I'm Farid, and my question for Badaria is: in what ways does the presence of mutual respect in a family contribute to healthy relationships, and how can the absence of respect lead to the...
Thank you for the question just now. Allow me to explain about it. Mutual respect does play a huge role in creating a foundation of a happy and healthy family surrounding. Mutual respect does contribute to a healthy family relationship by encouraging a healthy communication. When each family member is respecting each other's opinion and thought, even during disagreement, it allows for open and effective communication. As what I said earlier in my sharing session, effective communication can create a positive relationship and able to strengthen the relationship by understanding each other's feelings and concern. Other than that, it reduces misunderstanding, promote active listening, and also enables family members to resolve conflict more amicably. Next, by practicing mutual respect in family relationship, it can actually foster individual growth, as respect allows family members to honor each other's boundaries, personal space, and individuality. This encourages personal growth and development, as everyone feels free to pursue their interests and ambition while receiving encouragement from the other family members. Meanwhile, lack of mutual respect can lead to toxicity in family setting. Without the presence of mutual respect, it can lead to emotional abuse and manipulation, causing manipulative behaviors where one person seeks to control or belittle another. Emotional abuse such as insult, passive aggressiveness, or making someone feel unworthy can take root and causing deep emotional harm.
Thank you, Badaria, for that.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Actually, I have another point to talk about. May I resume?
Of course, Badaria, please go ahead.
Another consequences is it can lead to emotional distance and isolation. Over time, continuous disrespect between family members can cause emotional distance. Family members might start to avoid each other to protect themselves from further hurt, leading to isolation and disconnection within the household. These can eventually break the family ties. That's all.
Thank you, Badaria. Now let's move on to another question. We have one from user 104106 who asks about how do healthy school environments promote student emotional well-being, and how do toxic environments contribute to mental health issues like anxiety or depression?
Thank you, Ina, for reading the question from our audience from the live just now. There's actually two questions that has been stated, so I'm going to answer one by one. I'll start with the first one. How does a healthy school environments promote student healthy well-being? First, nowadays, I noticed that a lot of schools have what we call strong mental health curriculum. In this curriculum, the school will integrate the student to teach them how to understand and how to manage their stress. So they will let them to engage in such mindfulness and stress management programs like yoga, counseling session with their counselors, and engage in more group work, which will help their communicative skill and teamwork. This will greatly improve their confidence and spread out some very much positive energy. There's also what we call peer mentoring programs, which there will be a group of students that will be mentored by teachers. I think a lot of schools in our country has applied this. So it is very conventional, because if the student in the group has some problems with their health or some issues with their daily stuff, they can ask the mentor to help them and to advise them on how to settle the problem. There's also need to be some reward and compensation system in the school. For example, when a student scores greatly in an exam, the school need to reward them with a prize like maybe hampers or some other stuff. Why did I see this? This is because most children tends to move with gift, because they can't really control their emotion really well, and when they receive gift, they will be so happy, and they will be more spirited to do the work more efficiently next time. Next, I'll move on with the next question, which is how do toxic school environments contribute to the student emotional health issues? For the first point, I say that most of school these days is lacking the emotional support service. In schools where there are few or no counselors or mental health professionals, the students will face emotional challenge which they have nowhere to turn. The lack of this support can exacerbate feeling of isolation, anxiety, or even depression. There's also some concept which is called hyper-focus on achievement. Most of high prestige schools will overexert their students and often push an overemphasis on grades and competitions, creating extreme pressures for the students. This can lead to chronic disease, burnout, and even fear of failure, as the student is become traumatized of failure from cannot reach the expectation of the schools, contributing to mental health problems like anxiety or depressions. Some schools will neglect or cut creative programs like art, music, or even drama to limit the student ability to express themselves emotionally. A lack of creative outlets can prevent students from processing their feelings in a healthy way, leading to emotional suppression and increased anxiety. Lastly, I think most of school these days really have a negative or chaotic administration and unclear expectation. I say this because most of the school administration these days are more focused on how the school function than care about their students. Schools with poor leaderships and unclear rules or frequent change to policies creates an environment of unpredictability. This can cause constant stress and anxiety for students who feel ungrounded in their day-to-day experience. Lastly, I would like to say about the negative school culture. In an environment where gossip, competitiveness, and peer judgment are normalized, students are more likely to experience social anxiety and feelings of inadequacy. This type of culture can heighten insecurities, fostering self-doubt and fear of social interaction. That's all from me. I hope that will answer the question that has been stated just now. Thank you.
Thank you for our speaker, which is Gwen Wadaria, for answering all the questions that have been submitted to us. Now, I would like to say a closing remark on this topic. For our conclusion, healthy and toxic relationships have a tremendous impact on individuals in both home and educational settings. Mutual respect, trust, and positive communication are all essential components of effective relationships. Healthy family dynamics include empathy, support, emotional availability, which allow each member to feel valued and understood. Healthy relationships among students, teachers, and classmates promote a pleasant learning environment in which kids feel comfortable asking for help, expressing their ideas, and participating in collaborative learning. Meanwhile, toxic relationships will damage emotional well-being and personal development. Toxic behaviors in families such as criticism, manipulation, neglect, and favoritism foster feelings of debt, insecurity, and low self-esteem. In schools, toxic connection can manifest as bullying, exclusion, or favoritism, resulting in poor academic achievement and emotional misery. These actions hinder the development of trust, self-esteem, and appropriate emotional regulation. In summary, while healthy relationships promote personal and academic growth, resilience, and emotional well-being, toxic relationships breed insecurity, emotional instability, and hinder both personal and intellectual development. Both family and school play crucial roles in shaping individuals' sense of self and success, making it vital to nurture healthy, supportive relationships in these key areas of life. Lastly, I would also like to thank everyone for joining us and for your participation. If you have further questions or would like more information, feel free to reach out to Badaria and Tuan or connect with us through our email. We look forward to seeing you at our future event. Have a great day.